Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high-performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is Herr, the founder and CEO of Fount. And based on work optimizing outcomes for the highest performers in the toughest environments on Earth, Fount's mission is to build AI-enabled precision health and performance technology that empowers everyone to reach their goals so that they can do more for themselves, their family, their community, and ultimately for the world. Andrew led human performance efforts for the US military and has been honored as a mad scientist by the US Army twice. And this sounds right up my alley, so I'm really looking forward to learning more about Fount's holistic approach. Welcome, Andrew, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thanks, Claudia. It's really a pleasure to be here and looking forward to this discussion.
Me too. Andrew, let's start by providing some context and background for the listeners. So I mentioned your work for the US military in the intro, but let's maybe even go back one more step. So what's your educational background and why did you join the military?
So I always say that if I lived my life 10 times, I would have been maybe a doctor 5 of them. I come from a family where my father's a doctor, and my mom's side of the family is quite a long military history. And so was able to find a university degree where I could do science, technology, and national security. It was like a kind of a great combination. And then in graduate school, I did master's in immunology, in health physics, and then also in national security policy. And so I had this sort of strange mix of backgrounds. And I got a call from the Career Center one day saying, "Hey, Andrew, somebody walked in. They said they need someone who does biology and national security and can write." And they're like, "Well, we know this guy, Andrew." And so I got hired as a civilian to run studies on the future of human performance for the Secretary of Defense's sort of private think tank here in the US. And that was the opportunity to really dive into this field. And it's been, going on 15 years since.
Wow, that sounds so interesting. And what is that Mad Scientist initiative? And how did you end up being honored as a Mad Scientist twice?
So the Army is always trying to think about what they need to develop technology, personnel, doctrine, which is how we fight, how you operate for the future. And so one of the organizations that is responsible for this runs a kind of something between a competition and event occasionally to bring ideas to the front. And they asked me and selected me a number of times then to be part of this and bring forward, especially this idea of not how can human performance improve units a little bit, but how can it dramatically change how we operate on the battlefield? How could it change the way you organize an army? And so I had the opportunity to bring forward these ideas about how this technology could be, well, to step back, we already know that this can be transformational in people's lives, but how can it be transformational at an organizational scale in the way militaries fight? I mean, obviously these militaries are enormous. And so I was able to, try to give them a glimpse of what I think may be coming in the future. And hopefully that we can be ready for it. And our adversaries don't use it too effectively against us.
So they shouldn't sign up for Fount.
Well, our military should sign up for Fount, and we do. So for our product stuff, we do sell some of our jet lag products to military, and we love supporting them. But most of our clients are executives and entrepreneurs. We also work with pro sports teams and Olympic teams. So we do get to work with a great swath of people, from people who are really getting into and entering their health journey to people who are really optimizing their performance at an elite level.
Super interesting. What has your time in the military taught you about human performance under stressful conditions?
What I learned is, most people think that, let's say, a Navy SEAL, that one of the things that's going to make them work is their ability to be incredibly strong and all the physical aspects. And certainly they're elite physical performers. But what's become clear, and there's some very good research on this that's published, is that really what differentiates somebody who is an elite operator in, let's say, special operations is the ability for their brain to perform well under stress. Mm-hmm. And so taking that as a baseline, there are a series of things, one, that you can use to select for who already is good at that. And that's, if you've ever seen any of the video or read stories about BUDS, which is the basic underwater demolition school, and the Hell Week, and they're no sleep and it's cold and they're in the water, like they're testing for people who can handle the stress and don't ring the bell and choose to quit. But second, there's these studies I mentioned where you can actually look at ratios of hormone levels in the blood that predict success in these schools. And so some people are wired to produce more DHEA, which is a precursor to testosterone and estrogen, and the ratio of that to cortisol is predictive of who will succeed. Oh, and then the third thing is you can train people to be better at handling stress. How? Well, two of the great human stressors are uncertainty and social judgment. And so how do we help mitigate the effects of uncertainty? Put people in stressful situations they'll see and inoculate them to some of that stress. So somebody's going to be on a battlefield. You're going to put them at night under barbed wire and they're crawling and it's cold and you're shooting over their head. And like, that's not the same thing as combat, but it's related. And it means that, when they're first time engaged or as they go, like it becomes more normal. It becomes something, parts of which they've seen before. And then the social piece is about trust. So I ran a big study for the military on what is it that differentiates small units that can handle the stresses of combat and perform at exceptional levels and those that seem to fall apart under stress. And we found two key components, the first of which is trust. And it turns out if you look at studies of people not just in the military, just regular people, if I put you in a stressful situation by yourself, your cortisol level might be here, high. With a stranger, lower. And with someone you trust, even lower. So trust actually buffers the physiological effects of a stressful situation. And so we developed a model looking at not only, it turns out trust is a combination of trust and confidence in leaders. And we built a model showing that units that had these kind of certain behaviors seem to perform better under stress. And then the second part is mission focus. So what do we know? We know you want the best people at it. You want to give them exposure and train them to handle it better. And you want to create these unit environments that are specifically designed to mitigate stress and prevent burnout. And then you get this incredible performance. And the cool thing is, not just in the military, we've done work with the Miami Heat on how this applies to pro basketball. We've done work with executives on how this applies to their startups. And this model of trust and mission focus turns out to apply. Once you've sort of seen it, then I see it in marriages. It's really wild.
That's so cool. So would you say that trust and confidence and mission focused, is that under the umbrella of mindset, or do you see mindset as a separate thing?
I think 100% the way you approach a stressful situation affects how it affects you. And mission focus is very much about mindset, but it's also about you as a leader. And I know a lot of your listeners are leaders, or even, whether at the top or even in the, leading people in mid-level, your behaviors as a leader generate trust and mission focus in your subordinates. And so it's not just about your own mindset, it's about how your mindset and your leadership and these things flow down to your subordinates. And so, yes, it's a physiology thing and a psychology thing, top down and bottom up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also really like the idea of the stress inoculation that you kind of mentioned. And another concept that I find really interesting in this context is the concept of anti-fragility, as described by Nassim Taleb in his book. I think it was Anti-Fragile, the things that gain from disorder or something like that. So the critical argument there is that there are fragile systems that sort of crumble under stress. And then there are those anti fragile systems or entities that actually benefit from chaos and uncertainty and stressors. So, could be even things like the stock markets or evolution as examples for those anti fragile systems. But so is exercise. So, when your body undergoes stress, it overcompensates and then it builds up more capacity to deal with potential future shocks. So essentially, strength really is a result of overcompensation against adversity. So there's certainly truth to that old adage that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That said, if a system like the body is already under a lot of stress and you keep just, piling more stress on top, then you will eventually get to a breaking point, which is definitely something that we want to avoid. So I think this is the perfect time to geek out a little bit and talk about your personal high performance habits. What things do you do on a daily basis that help you stay happy, healthy, and productive?
So yeah, we love this concept of hormesis that you're talking about, where stressors, allow you to come out stronger. And um, it's not only one of the most powerful tools for the body, it seems to be required. Like the body dysregulates if you don't have any stressors, exercise. There's even foods that act as parahormetics or things that trigger this same hormetic response. And so, yeah, I love bringing that up. So what do I do personally? Well, thankfully, I've had a little bit here to optimize different parts of my life. And so, I run everything as an experiment. When I change something,
Mhm.
I want to know, is it helping? Is it hurting? This may seem weird, but even like if it's like I'm trying a new lotion or a cream, like I'm going to put it on half my face and not the other and
Oh,
try to
wow.
figure out like for a week, does it work better or not? And if I can't tell the difference, then I assume it doesn't do anything.
Right.
And if I can, then good. So what does that mean? So uh, I'll just pick a few things. Diet is a huge piece for me. I
Mm.
wake up and I have found after some very strange trial and error that involves some ultra obstacle course races, Spartan races, that the optimal breakfast for me is a mix of almond butter, olive oil, and water. High
Oh,
fat,
wow.
high fiber, mid protein, no carbs. When you mix it together, it makes like kind of like a pudding basically. And I can take 1,000 calories in 2 minutes and feel great all the way through lunch. So 100% feeling great. Then lunchtime, I find that I then add some carbs back in. I'll typically do like chicken or fish, black rice, because then I get the anthocyanins with it. And then black rice
Mhm.
I'll cooked in bone broth and olive oil and then cool it down so it creates resistant starch. And so, if I eat white rice, my blood sugar might do this, but with
Yes.
this, it's like just a blip. Uh,
Mhm.
and then I eat a similar thing for dinner. I'm going to try to take a walk. I like walking meditations. I find sitting and
Mhm.
breathing I can do, but I really like the active part of walking meditations. And I'll do it in the sun. Thankfully, I live in California where we get a lot of sun throughout the year. And so I can go out, be near the ocean, do a walking meditation. And ideally, I'll do that kind of right after lunch. And that helps with digestion and blood sugar, as well as my focus for the afternoon. Um, I've tried workouts in the morning, just doesn't work well for my brain. So I work out in the afternoon. And again, I'll try to finish my workday, work out, and then glide that into either dinner, or if I'm just at home, I'll eat a quick dinner and then I might work more. I have a Fount is my mission, my personal mission, as well as my business mission. And so I'm happy to put in a lot of hours, but then as I get to the evening, I'm going to want to be blocking blue light. So I have lights in my house that automatically go orange, or if I'm using screens, I'll use blue light glasses. I'll shower before bed, very valuable. It, raises your body temperature, which allows it to fall faster, reach thermoneutral in bed faster, as well as wash off allergens and stuff. And cold bed, cold room. And so, those are some like things. I have a supplement protocol. I'm very lucky that, my company runs a custom supplement facility. So I have these little supplement packs made for me. So I can also run experiments with that, but also just, my team sends me what I need. So, I'd say I try to integrate meditation, breath work, exercise, nutrition in a way that supports my mission and my happiness. I think one of the things I do more and more when I occasionally coach executives, mostly I have a team that coaches them, but I run the program internally we call Fount Black, which is sort of if somebody wants everything. Our Fount Pro program is incredible, but if you really want everything, then I will coach some of these people. And, my big takeaways are, I need to know what your values are to really align things. And so I'm aligning things against my personal values. And that also then includes the people, spending time with people that I care about. And so Friday, I will log off, workout, and then that's the end of my working at my job really until the end of the night Saturday. And so I take that sort of Friday night, Saturday off from working at my job to reconnect and recharge too.
So important. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that a lot of listeners in my audience are really geeking out about all those biohacks and stuff that you shared. So I want to ask you about your exercise routine. Can you share a little bit about your exercise routine?
Yeah. So, I think like one, full body strength is really important and functional strength. So I try to mix lifting, HIIT, and endurance level cardio. And so my ideal week is 4 lifts, sort of often do a push-pull legs split plus core. Then I'll do 2 runs. I love running. Love being outside. Thankfully where I live, it's, normally between 60 degrees and 80 degrees. So you can almost always run outside. It's beautiful. And then ideally like one day of some sort of like an activity. It could be like tennis, which I don't play that well, but still play, or being in the water or something like that. So that's sort of my ideal exercise split. And I can usually get there. And even if I only have 20 minutes one day, I can do something quick. And then some days I'll take that longer period and do harder workouts. And I work with a trainer twice a week because, having somebody who has an eye for nailing form, for, a good spot when you want to go for PRs, things like that, I think is also extremely valuable.
Yeah, that sounds super balanced. I mean, I love running too. And I find that I do more running and I haven't really done a lot of the other things like strength training and stuff like that. So that's something that I want to incorporate more into my training routine as well, because the older we get, the more we have to really do strength training as well. It's like when you're young, you might still be able to just get by focusing on cardio and doing what you love, but at some point you might have to add in all those other things as well.
Now, I think the world sort of like doesn't tell women they should prioritize it, but like we all need it. And so I think that's been one of the areas that I think has been better, is now you hear more about whether it was CrossFit or other things, like not, whatever's right for you, but like, women have long been told, especially young girls, like they shouldn't strength train, they'll get bulky muscles. And like, that's just not how it works. Like you have to do a lot to get bulky muscles for most women. And then I even talked to girls who like think they shouldn't eat a lot of protein because they'll get bulky. And it's like, whoa, you need protein to be healthy. You need it for your mood, for energy. So, I think that's great that you push it across all the categories.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I find that especially when it comes to, biohacking, it's so easy to get lost in all the details and to forget the big picture. So, what's your current definition of success and what are you optimizing for, like in general?
So, I optimize my program for 3 sets of goals. I optimize it for what I care about. So my goals, like, because otherwise, why am I doing something? 2, I optimize it for my body or else it's not working properly. And 3, I optimize it for my lifestyle, which means that it will stick. It's easy as possible to do. And then also I am integrating in these other factors, friends, family, that matter. And so, when we tailor for any of our clients or for myself, it's about this triple customization: goals, body, lifestyle. And so what are my goals? My goals are to grow Fount, to build these systems that can scale this like really high tech N of 1 experiment base. Love that. And then, friends, family, and building the life that I want.
So important. Now let's switch gears and talk about business. So the one problem that all entrepreneurs face is to identify, say, the early adopters who really want your solution and who are willing to test your offer and provide feedback, and to also find the right messaging that attracts those people. Now, can you describe your ideal client avatar for us and explain the problem that you solve for them?
Yeah. So our clients are, well, we have a, sort of several offerings. So for our coaching service, Fount Pro, our clients are primarily executives and entrepreneurs who realize that they can get more out of themselves and contribute more to their mission if they optimize their health and performance. And they also are people who are smart. And so they realize that when they have a legal issue, they don't go to law school. They hire a lawyer, and if it matters, they hire a good one. And when they realize that they can optimize their health and performance, they realize that going on and watching 1,000 podcasts and reading 10,000 journal articles probably is not the best use of their time, and that a coach can enable them to optimize much faster and make it much easier, both with knowledge and with accountability. And so those are our clients. They're people who realize that there's much more they can have, and that by investing in themselves, they can get more out of their lives and for their mission. And so that's our client base, 30s to 60s, men and women. So it's really a big spread. And a lot of people think that our clients are already like super athletes and CEO triathletes. But a lot of the clients coming to us are getting excited about their journey and health and performance, but they're early on. They might have a lot of weight to lose. They might, be newer to the gym. And we love helping people across the spectrum. Everything's a different challenge, and our coaches really are experts at helping people no matter where they are. And so that's kind of the clients. And then for our jet lag product, FlyKit, which is sort of my baby, I developed it, and we really have a full solution to jet lag. I now say, like, jet lag is a choice. You don't have to have that anymore. It's a really interesting mix of people traveling for business, pleasure, and then pro athletes, right? For business, people want to hit the ground running, be sharp in those business meetings. They don't want the other side in negotiation to have an edge, and we love supporting that. For pleasure, like, who wants to waste the first 2 days of their trip to Europe or Tokyo or Sydney feeling crappy? It's like, that's terrible. Think about how much you're spending on this trip to waste 20% of it or more feeling bad. And so we love supporting that, all the way through people going somewhere for their wedding. That's really fun. So, and then we have increasing, the NHL, the first NHL team, it's become a client. The Arizona Coyotes just use it to go to Australia. We work with a variety of teams to help support them, the LA Dodgers. And we love, enabling them to perform at their best.
That's awesome. Yeah, I hate jet lag. It always affects me like so much.
Well, for your next trip, you'll have to get a FlyKit, and we can get
Yes.
you set up. And I mean, it's really a cool piece of science. We discovered that when you go to altitude in a plane, the pressure change causes an inflammatory response in the body. And once we figured out how to turn that off using a time supplement protocol, and we now have an app that calculates when to do everything and when to eat, sleep, and we also give you these specialized blue light glasses. When you turn off that inflammation, we can flip your circadian rhythms. You sleep well your first night, and then feel good your first day in country. It's wild. I get emails from people like, I just got to Tokyo and I slept 7 hours or 8 hours last night. Like, what did you do? And I'm like, that's sort of what I promised the product would do. Like, that's what we built it for. But it's really awesome to be able to help people do that.
That's so amazing because I'm based in Germany and my husband's side of the family lives in New Zealand. So it's a 12-hour time zone difference. So that would be ideal. We definitely have to try that.
We definitely have people go from Europe to Australia and New Zealand and feel great.
I can't even imagine that. What back to the coaching solution that you provide. What does that look like in terms of the steps that that your clients have to take to get through your program?
Yeah. So step one is data collection. We're going to do a personality profile on you and not one of these fake ones. We're going to do a 5-factor ocean personality profile on you. That's going to help us not only think about how to deliver information, it's also going to help us figure out who's the right coach for you. Second, blood work and collect any wearable data you have. And then the last piece is we do a 90-minute one-on-one deep dive across goals, schedule, habits, environment, family history. And that is this amazing set of data that, when combined with the blood work and wearable and all this other stuff, allows us to really build this picture of our clients. And we use that picture to design then experiments. So we have all this data. Now the coach is going to spend a lot of time looking across everything we've collected and building this, saying, okay, for your goals, here's the most likely experiments to work. Here are the highest ROI experiments. And we'll design those for people and then make them easy to run. We'll help you figure out what breath work you need to do. We'll help you figure out supplements. We run our own facility so we can send them to you. So we get that all set up, and then we run those experiments, and we're checking in on video with our clients every week and by text and email in between. So we're doing this really tight iteration cycle of weekly calls where we're getting, so then we have access to their wearable data, but we're also then doing subjective data. We're asking them questions about how they feel, because we can take how they feel and turn that into a picture of their physiology. So when you tell me when your energy level is higher or lower at this time of day, and we know what we changed, we can get a good sense of maybe why your energy level changed, things like that. So it's this weekly iteration cycle with a coach that allows us to really drive great results, because we're getting dozens of experiments done. And with each experiment, we get someone further towards their goals, and we learn more about them. And then once we learn more about them, we can design stuff better and better, faster and faster. And so redo their blood work when we need to, add different data sources when we need to. So that's the Fount Pro model, is this really tight iteration cycle with a coach who is not only an expert in being able to design, but is also there for support, for ensuring you're getting the things done that you want to.
I love this scientific approach. That's like my time back at university and designing experiments. And it's kind of like how I work with my clients too. It's always like, find the right experiment for you right now, run the test and see what happens, and tweak as you go. Now, exercise, nutrition, sleep, and stress management have probably the biggest impact on your overall health and longevity. But something else that I found on your website was interesting to me, which was dopamine management, which is also super interesting for, focus and productivity. But since not everyone might be familiar with this, could you just describe what you mean by dopamine management protocols, and what a protocol could look like and what people could expect from following it?
Yeah, awesome. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter that gets a lot of play these days. It's involved in a variety of responses, from pleasure to goal-directed behavior. And I think, we mostly think about it in these two lenses. And so, our brains are particularly susceptible to releasing dopamine when we get a trigger that's unexpected and has some way like engages our brain. So it's sort of like an unexpected reward. And so your phone is this incredible tool for getting dopamine response to your phone, because it's giving you notifications at unexpected times, because people text you at random times, and the apps are designed to give you notifications at unexpected times to trigger this dopamine loop. So the environment, our phones and things, are basically designed to hijack this system that is really there for us to know what to pay attention to and to be able to pay attention to it. I always say our brains not only learn to do something, like, hey, if you get a reward, if you feel good from something, our brains learn that they want to do it more, but our brains also can learn not to do things. So if I work hard at my job and it's stressful and I don't feel any reward, my brain will start to say, I want to spend less resources on that. And it will get harder and harder for you to focus on your job. This is an evolutionary adaptation. If you went and hunted in the forest over there over and over and you didn't kill anything and you didn't eat, the brain needed to be like, stop hunting over, stop focusing on anything over there. You need to hunt over here. And so, okay. So we have systems to learn to do things and not do things. And the world is hijacking the system to learn to do things. And many people's jobs are hijacking the system to learn to not do things. So how do we then flip this around? If you do want to be able to focus on your job, we need to figure out how to mitigate the effects of things like our phone. And we can do you can do dopamine fast, meaning like, get off your phone for certain periods of time. We can mitigate the effects of the phone. You've seen people maybe set the color on the phone to black and white. That actually, the color in there is very engaging to our brain. And when your phone's black and white, you don't respond to it as much. And also those little red bubbles that are designed to trigger our brain to engage when you have like one text message or 3 text messages, those then don't have that same engagement. Or even wearing blue light blocking glasses can have the same effect where the phone doesn't cause as strong a response. So there's some really interesting studies showing that the combination of exciting content and bright light engages your brain much more than either alone. And so, late at night, you're watching TV, the TV is quite bright, the lights are on. You actually don't get tired as fast, even if you need the sleep, because your brain is these loops are getting hijacked. So we're going to help modulate your environment in a way that is going to take the things that are hijacking it and kind of tamp those down or tamp down their pull on you. And then we want to engage the positive dopamine system. So how are we using exercise where you get a release of dopamine, light exposure in the morning and sun, and then how we can use supplements to modulate the dopamine system. For example, L-tyrosine is an amino acid that is a precursor to dopamine production. And if you take it, especially on an empty stomach, let's say before lunch, some people will get a really beautiful 1 to 2 hours of much deeper focus, but don't want to use that every day because your system will become less sensitive to it. So, but 2 to 4 times a week, if that works for you, you can drop into deep focus and use your dopamine system as a goal for whatever you want. So that combined with goal setting and making sure you recognize when you do hit your goals. A lot of entrepreneurs set huge goals, make progress, and don't give themselves credit. So giving yourself credit is not weakness. It's actually feeding your dopamine system to prevent you from burning out long term. And by the way, giving yourself a pat on the back doesn't mean you have to go slack for the rest of the day. It can be like, I did great, let's push it. So anyways, these are a variety of the tools we're thinking about with dopamine management of like, how do you remove the things that are messing with the system? How do you support the system? And then how do you engage the system on what you want to be focusing on that's aligned with your mission and your personal goals?
That's so important. And another area that I'm interested in and that I didn't see listed on your website is mental and emotional health. So as a mindset coach, I'm obviously biased, but I think that research has clearly shown how important mindset and relationships are and what impact they have on your overall health and longevity. So, why bother adding more years to your life if you're depressed and miserable, right? So is that something that your program addresses too? And if it isn't, why not?
So first of all, totally agree. These are critical parts of the human experience as well as supporting performance and longevity. So absolutely agree. We definitely come in at those topics from how do we affect not only the psychology, but the physiology. When you have more inflammation in your body, it increases anxiety, which is not good for mindset or relationships, it turns out. Stress hormone levels. And so we are going to work with our clients to manage their physiology, to optimize mindset and relationships. And then we do work with them some extent on the mindset side. But I'd say we focus a little bit less on that piece. Many of our clients have coaches or therapists or others, and we find that can be a great combination. Although in the Fount Black model I mentioned, which is our highest tier of service, we do offer all of that coaching all the way through executive coaching on leadership and everything. So, and I actually work personally with those clients I mentioned. So I love doing the mindset and relationship piece as well, and figuring out if you're doing something that you can look back and be like, I don't want to be doing, I don't want to be procrastinating, I don't want to be acting like that in my relationship. Let's figure out why you're doing that. And let's figure out tools to change your response to a given situation. So yeah, I love the mindset and relationship piece. I think you're exactly right, Claudia, that that's a huge piece of life and performance. I mean, if you're a leader and you don't think about relationships in your company, then this is a huge problem. So 100% on how important that is.
Yeah, and I just love seeing how sometimes if you figure out what your triggers are and how you can better work with them, how it can change not only your relationships, but all the other pieces in your life as well. Now, going back to your program. So you said the first step in your program is data collection using wearables and blood testing, etc. And can you share which wearables you have tested and which ones are your favorite?
Yeah, so we're thinking about wearables primarily for sleep and stress for all of our clients. And there we like Whoop and Aura. They're different form factors. Some people don't like a band on their wrist. Some people like the really minimal ring. Some people like the band on their wrist. And then if you do use it during exercise, Whoop is a much better product than Aura for exercise tracking. So Whoop and Aura we find to be good products there. And then other people who are really into fitness will use wearables for tracking heart rate during exercise, things like that. But at a minimum, understanding your sleep quality, heart rate at night, sympathetic activation through heart rate variability, these things are really valuable.
And here's another question from one of the listeners. So, what's your view on the importance of gut microbiome testing? Is that something that you routinely include in your tests too? And do you think that the available tests provide meaningful information that we can translate into actionable protocols, or is the science not there yet?
So, first step, is the gut important? So important.
Yeah.
In one of the cornerstones of having a healthy and high performance life, because your gut can cause your brain fog, your gut can cause health issues. So 100%. Today, most of the gut microbiota testing is talking about diversity and which strains you have, but that doesn't really tell you what you can do about it, unfortunately, because when you take a probiotic, it typically doesn't colonize, meaning those don't stay around in your gut. Doesn't mean probiotics can't work, because they're there temporarily and they do have an immune effect temporarily. But I find that I'd much rather manage somebody's gut and solve their gut problems via experiments than via that testing, because it doesn't tell me a ton. However, the time when it can be really valuable is people do get parasites. And if you have parasites and don't know, that's a huge problem, because you can do all this great work to optimize your gut health and you're not going to get there because you have an infection. So for people who have really persistent gut issues, the tests that can test for parasites can be really valuable. But for most people, I think experimental based is really the way to go. Everything from elimination diets to supplements to stress management. When you have higher stress hormone levels, it actually causes the neurons in the gut not to mature properly, and then your gut doesn't squeeze properly. It can lower the barrier function, so the lining of your gut doesn't prevent bacteria from getting through and causing inflammation. So all these, stress, diet, how you exercise, when you eat relative to exercise, when you eat relative to sleep, all these things, we can design experiments to solve long-term gut issues. And I love doing that.
Sounds great. Now, what are your thoughts on the current health data quality in general, and what is needed to make better health recommendations in the future?
I think the most of the data in the health space is garbage. It's
Right.
these observational studies where you have no idea what the correlation means, because you have 20 different covariates that could be causing it.
Right.
It's
That's always a
20-person studies, which the odds of them being that accurate are frankly low. It's studies on mice These mice aren't even genetically similar to mice in the wild, let alone to humans. Like, they have tremendously different responses. And then you have some large, well-run clinical trials, but they're mostly for medicines, although those have very strange incentives to just show that they work as opposed to necessarily seeing side effects and things. So mostly there are some good clinical trials, but most of them are garbage. And why would you even want to run your life based off clinical trials, which are the average results of people who aren't you? Would you want to run your company based on the average results of your competitors? No way. And so, what do we need to get this right? We need to go from one experiment on 100 people and look at the average to dozens of experiments on each person and collect N of 1 data. We need to go from one test at the beginning and one test at the end to regular blood work and wearable and self-report data. And we need to build a very large data set. And then these amazing machine learning and AI models can then highly accurately predict, okay, Claudia, based on the data, actually most people do best on an elimination diet, but for you, we need you to restrict exercise within 4 hours before bed. I don't, whatever it is. This, people do really well often with gut stuff on using curcumin as an anti-inflammatory, but for you, this isn't going to work. Instead, we're going to use quercetin, which downregulates the mast cell allergy response in the gut. And if we can get to the right answer quickly, then people will feel better faster and they'll be more engaged in their health journey, and we can iterate and really get them to where they want to be. But it's got to be fast, because otherwise we know people put that Fitbit back in the drawer and stop wearing it, or they're wearable, or stop doing things. So that's really what we were building at Fount, is this ability to build these unique data sets that allow us to hyper target to help people reach their goals.
I love that. Now, if you put your fortune teller hat on, where do you see the future of health heading? How will the way that we approach health and longevity be different in, say, 20 to 50 years from now?
Like I just described you, the model we're building at Fount with hyper targeting, like this is the future of health. This is like, look, I ran a coaching business before. I made good money. I liked my clients. I didn't need to run a startup and the stress and the absolute intensity of it. But this is my mission. This is what we're building for the world, because the current system is failing people. Doctors do not understand diet. They don't understand how to customize. Evidence-based medicine is about giving you the average treatment. We have to fix the entire system, and we have to do it from the outside. So that's what I believe. And alongside that, 20 to 50 years, we're going to get a lot of new tools. We're getting deeper and deeper into understanding genetics and genomics as these new companies come online, to not just test one little thing, but your whole genome. It's a lot of security and privacy issues around that, but we're getting more data there. We're getting more tools, whether it's kind of, the area that people are excited about now in health is peptides, whether it's, gene editing, all these new tools, when you combine them with hyper targeting, have the potential to dramatically improve our lives. Think about cancer treatment. Chemotherapy is about poisoning the body in a way that poisons cancer cells just a little bit more than the rest of your cells, so you don't die and the cancer dies, but you're still getting poisoned. Whereas some of these new immunotherapies, can literally, like CAR T cell therapy, you're literally genetically engineering and training your immune cells to specifically kill a cancer. Incredible stuff. And that's not available for everybody. It's not available for every type of cancer, but moving in this hyper targeted tools and hyper targeted customization is the future. And I'm excited.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I agree. And I love your data-driven and experimental approach. And I think that this really is the way to provide better healthcare for everyone. That said, collecting data and using those data to figure out the best protocols is just, one part of the equation, because we also need people to overcome their need for immediate gratification and to help them build those better habits. So what is your approach for helping people stick with their new and healthier routines?
So what we want to do is figure out, why is it hard? These are our clients are successful people. They can focus on their work. They can build companies. So why is a piece of the health stuff, a piece of the performance stuff, why is it hard for you to eat well? And then we're going to dive into, is it an emotional relationship with food? You know, a colleague of ours who works especially on emotional relationships with food says, like, is it head hunger, habit, heart hunger, emotional, you're using the food to handle emotions, or is it stomach hunger, like you're hungry, you need to eat? So, and understanding things like that, understanding why you eat because your parents were a little bit cold and distant, but like when you did something good, they gave you food you liked or sweets, and now you use sweets to feel loved. Like figuring out why something is hard and letting our clients, really helping them understand, lets them take control over it, and then they can use that new control over these challenges. Doesn't mean they have to like never eat sweets again. Just means I want them to have control over when they do it instead of just doing it on autopilot, because otherwise that's the thing that's not letting them reach their goals. So there's a huge mental and emotional component of it. And for some people, they have control of the emotional stuff, and it's really, they just don't know what to do, and they want an expert to help them figure it out. And you know what? Why not? We use experts in all of our business and work and even personal lives. So we love providing every piece, whether it's not just but really the combination of, the insight into themselves, the insight into the optimal strategies for themselves, and just how to make it easy. Like some of our clients are like, hey, I don't have as much time to cook. Great. Like, go to the grocery store and buy 4 rotisserie chickens. You now have lean protein in your fridge for the rest of the week. Beautiful and easy and doable for almost anybody in the country, because even if you are not buying the $12 Whole Foods one, the $6 Costco one is enormous. And, that's a solution as well. So 100%, we need to help people solve the top down and bottom up psychology and physiology to get to their goals.
So they need to understand why they're doing stuff and then help them make it easy, make it obvious, and make it satisfying, right?
There you go.
Now, what do you plan for the future of Found? Do you plan on making it more accessible to a bigger number of people in the future, or do you see it more as an exclusive VIP option?
So we will continue to offer our VIP Fount Pro and Black options, but I'm really excited that in 4 weeks from Monday, we'll start to roll out Fount One, which is the next level to make it cheaper. Look, it's not going to be cheap, but we're going from $2,500 to $400 a month. That's a big jump, and it opens up to a lot more people. And then in the future, we'll make it even cheaper. But I'm really excited to launch the next phase of our coaching with a brand new app experience that is so cool and allows you to track all the data from your experiments and see what's working. So yeah, I'm very excited. We're launching this new model, and I just want to keep cutting that price by like 5 to 10x every time. And then suddenly it's going to be affordable to a lot of people in the world. And that's our mission here, is to make this stuff available.
That's amazing. Congratulations on the upcoming launch. Now, what are the main challenges of this business model, and how do you approach them?
So providing a great coaching experience is not simple. You need the right coaches, you need the right training for the coaches, and you need the right structure for the program. So, that's a big piece. A lot of great coaches out there continue to just one-on-one coach because scaling it is not a simple thing. And I'm not saying it's bad to not scale it. I think that's just a personal choice, but it is a challenge to scale. And so we've had to figure out who are the right people to hire. How do we train them? How do we resource them? And so that's a real challenge, but we have an amazing coaching team now. It's mostly former military and special operators, but not only. And they have an incredible drive. They care incredibly about their mission and their clients. And then we train them on the physiology and psychology side. And they really enable our clients to get incredible outcomes.
Sounds amazing. We have one more listener question. Are you planning to expand to Germany or the EU in general? And if you do, I might have your first hires sorted for you.
Amazing. So we do coach in Europe already. The one thing we don't do is we don't send supplements and our other stuff there weekly to our clients. So that's the one challenge. But in terms of the coaching model and the app, that will all be live in Europe. And so we're definitely excited to push that out and continue to build our ability to help more and more people in the world.
Yay. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
My sign off is always this: run everything as an experiment. Look, if you like Peter Attia, if you like Andrew Huberman, if you like David Sinclair, like, I don't care, but run it as an experiment. See if their recommendation works for you, because not all the recommendations are going to work for any given person. Everybody's different. So if you run it as an experiment, decide, hey, I want to try this new morning routine to have more energy. Great. Write down your energy in the afternoon, or in a month, you can use our app to do this. Like, write down your energy at 3 p.m. every day. Note what days you did the morning routine, what days you didn't. Run an experiment with a week with the new routine. How do you feel? And if you feel better, phenomenal, keep it. And if you don't feel better, then don't waste your time on that and find something else to experiment with, and you'll find other things that do work. And so my goal is to help people understand that, like, there's some really smart scientists and influencers out there, but to really figure out what works for you, run it as an experiment.
Couldn't agree more. That's exactly how I approach it as well. So last but not least, where can people find you online if they would like to learn more about you or connect with you?
Yeah, so on our website at Fount, FOUNT.bio, B-I-O, that's Fount.bio. On Twitter, I'm at Andrew Herr, Herr, bio. And follow me, and we're about to start putting out some new, really exciting content, some of our internal training materials for coaches that are like operating manuals for inflammation, operating manuals for your stress hormone system. It's really cool content. So follow us, sign up for the email list on our website, and you'll get notifications when we post new stuff. And follow me on Twitter, and I'll try to put out some interesting things about why I hate bananas and other topics.
Okay, fantastic. Andrew, thank you so much for sharing your tips and your insights with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Claudia, so much fun to chat. Thanks for all the great questions, and look forward to hearing feedback from your audience.
Absolutely. Take care and talk soon.
Cheers.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. That's a fantastic, easy, and zero-cost way to help the show grow. Just use the link in the show notes and make my day. Want more? For quick, actionable tips and insights to guided meditations and a side of biohacking, join my inner circle and get access to exclusive subscriber-only content. Again, just use the link in the show notes to join the tribe. Thank you for your support, and see you on the other side. Take care and talk soon. Bye.